Hey everybody, I'm Chris. This isn't going to be a Chris Country video or anything. Actually, it's in response to my wife Stephanie's vlog series, or Stephanie's story, I'm sorry. I'll throw a link down there to her 3 videos that she did. Her videos were based on what happened with the 3 pregnancies that she and I shared together that ultimately ended in either a miscarriage or 2 different stillbirths. There's not too many videos out there on YouTube, or really there's not too many stories or entries about the fathers of miscarried babies or stillborn babies. And I figured it'd probably be kind of nice to offer my videos so you can see a father's perspective, because I know just as much as the mother suffers, so do the fathers. It's just, I think, because of the way society perceives it, or the way society perceives the male gender in general. Maybe it's because we're just kind of expected to deal with it, and as a result, we don't show it. But I could say from experience that, being the father of a lost angel, as I would call it, it does affect you in a lot of ways. But what I intend to do with I too will be doing about 3 different videos. I'll just be going over the same pregnancies that Steph talked about. It's just still be my perspective. They'll probably be quite a bit shorter than her videos, with the exception of this first one, just because, unfortunately, obviously I wasn't carrying the said child. But anyway, the first baby that we lost together, we never really got to give a name, and that was pretty much because we barely found out that we were pregnant before Steph miscarried. I remember it was kind of like early November of 2010 when I first started to suspect that Steph might be pregnant. I was just noticing like a change in appetite, just kind of things that seemed a little out of the ordinary with her. And as a result, I began to suspect that she might be pregnant, and pretty soon she began to suspect it too, but we were thinking she was much farther along than she was. I think at the time we were guesstimating about 2 months, and so we figured that the baby wasn't mine, rather it was her ex's that was before me. But the odd thing was that as we would of course later find out it was mine. The odd thing was nobody was able to get Steph pregnant up until she met me. So for a while there we were thinking, oh, it's a fluke, it's got to be something else. But once I was pretty sure that she was showing a lot of the signs, I said, you know what, let's go ahead and get a pregnancy test and see if you are in fact pregnant, and we'll go from there. And she did, and once we found out she was pregnant, we were still assuming that it was her ex's baby, because we weren't able to go to the doctors yet to get a gestational age. So the way Steph was feeling about it, her feelings in regards to her ex, and the situation that we were both in, and at the time I was still in school, but, we decided that, for Steph's emotions and things, the decision was more for Steph, but the decision came out to be, once the baby came to full term and was born, we would go ahead and offer it up for adoption. I don't really believe in abortion. The only gray area I really have with that is if it comes down to a medical problem, like if carrying the baby to full term would kill the baby or the mother. I don't really have a solid it's okay to abort or not decision. It's more like it's a gray area. I guess, to me it'd be like it really depends on the exact circumstances. But I mean, I try not to shove my viewpoints down other people's throats. It's just how I feel about it. Anyway, back to the story. We did decide, let the baby come to full term, and then we will adopt the baby out. And Steph picked her two best friends in California to ask first dibs on who the baby would go to. But anyway, it was a couple of weeks later after we found out that she was pregnant. During the week, I was at school, of course. I really only get to see Steph at that point on Fridays and occasionally Saturdays. So I can't remember what day of the week it was, but I remember I was already in bed one night. Just came home I got back to campus from college. I was in Job Corps. Long story short, I was in Job Corps. I was in the dorms, asleep, and I usually never ever wake up to my phone going off. I mean, once I'm down and asleep, I'm asleep. And my phone back then wouldn't wake me up until I actually woke up and stuff of that nature. But I do remember waking up to the phone ringing. I mean, it wasn't loud or anything. I think it was on vibrate. But something woke me up so I could realize that the phone was ringing. And I looked at it and realized it was Steph. And I'm not sure why, but something told me to go ahead and answer it. Because even Steph knew. If she's calling me at midnight, she's probably going to have to leave a voicemail or a text, and I'll get to it in the morning when I wake up. But I still remember going ahead and answering it. She called me. Well, she was talking to me. She told me that she had just got home from the hospital, which I didn't realize she was at the hospital. And she told me that she had lost the baby. And at first, it was a mixture of emotions. Because it took a little while for her to get to the next part. But it was a mixture of emotions. Because at the time, I was kind of worried about how she'd be able to take her first pregnancy and stuff like that, and the way her family was treating her. But I also felt heartbroken because it was a baby that was lost. But what did me in was when she said the gestational age of the baby was only 5 weeks. Steph and I were, at the time, you're talking the first or second week of December, I can't remember which week, but at the time, we have been essentially seeing each other pretty much exclusively since the middle to the end of September. So I knew it had to be mine. And that first sentence, I went from, it was a baby that wasn't mine but was lost, to, you just had your first child and you lost it. And it hit me pretty hard. Like Steph said, I was crying a little bit. Of course, that made her cry. And, it's not that I don't think about that particular child that we lost. It's just, it still does affect me. But it's just kind of sad because we never really got to know this baby that we just lost. Because it was only about 5 weeks, it was only about 5 weeks along, as I was saying. But it's still, it was still a blow to me. And just unfortunately, because of my circumstance, me being in school, I really couldn't do a whole lot about it. I just kind of had to be by myself with it, unless, of course, I was with Steph. And it affected the both of us. Things, it's just, there was a really interesting couple of months after that. Of course, we were still close and everything, but it hurt both of us, and it took us both a little bit to bounce back. But that was the first part. Stay tuned for the second part, and I will talk to you about the pregnancy that we believe started off as triplets, but ultimately ended with senior stillbirth. So stay tuned.